Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and welcome to this tutorial on the takeoff and initial climb in the fly-by-wire Airbus A380. We are standing at the holding point of runway 34 right in Seoul and we are basically fully ready to go. So let's go over a couple of basics, starting with the line-up flow pattern. Now, the lineup, in terms of what the pilot flying has to do, is fairly easy. You check that the approach path is clear, you verify that you're on the correct runway, turn the strobe light on, and then you are going to commence the lineup. The pilot monitoring is also going to confirm the runway and that the approach path is clear. Turn the packs off as necessary. Today we're doing a packs on takeoff. Make sure that the EFIS control panel is set, so that can be, for example, the selection of terrain or weather radar, depending on what may be significant for the flight. Ensure that the TCAS is in TARA, and remember, we've already done that one during the taxi. Last but not least, you will advise the cabin crew to prepare for departure, and then we can go for the lineup checklist. So we find that one down here in the checklist menu, lineup, and what do we have? Takeoff runway. That's 34 right, full length. Cabin crew, advised, packs 1 and 2, and you can see that they automatically show the desired state on, in this case, based upon the entry we've made down here on the takeoff panel. Okay, so on, and that's the lineup checklist complete. Alright, let's go ahead and conduct our lineup. Again, use minimal power as is available and needed in order to get the aircraft to move, and make sure that you have a speed between 8 and 10 knots as you're entering the lineup. The lineup itself should be conducted in a way that you use minimal runway, and it is most important that you do not follow that yellow guidance line, because this is only to vacate the runway. Imagine this, if you were to follow this line, you would start your takeoff roll from somewhere over here. However, we can also start it from here, and this is easily 100 meters of runway. Now you will see that the OANS warns us runway ahead and tells us which runway we are going onto. And again, do the lineup as needed to use up minimal runway. So I'm going to enter the turn right now. If you mess up the lineup and you end up with the aircraft not exactly on the center line, don't attempt to correct for that before the takeoff, but rather use the initial stages of the takeoff run so that you don't waste too much runway. Okay, here we are, lined up. Then let's go ahead and deselect the OANS and go to the minimal ND range, which is 10 nautical miles over here, and with that we are ready for departure. Now let's go ahead and talk about a couple of basics of how to conduct the takeoff in the Airbus A380. So let's start with the thrust setting technique and a couple of side stick techniques. So for the thrust setting, we apply 25%, that's here, wait until it has stabilized, and as long as the crosswind is at or below 23 knots and there is no tailwind, release the brakes and off we go. If the crosswind is above 23 knots or if there is tailwind, we use 25%, stabilize it there, then go to 50%, and only when the ground speed reaches 20 knots we are going to apply our takeoff thrust. When the takeoff thrust is applied, start the chronometers so that we can monitor for how long we are actually using takeoff thrust to observe the thrust limits. Now, below 100 knots we are going to apply forward side stick input, and normally we need about halfway forward input like that, but if there is a tailwind, up to full forward side stick can be used in order to maximize the nose wheel steering effectiveness. Between 80 and 100 knots we return the side stick into the neutral position, and note that even if there is crosswind we do not need to apply any side stick into the wind. This is Boeing stuff, or mostly conventional aircraft stuff, but in Airbuses we generally don't need this. So at VR, we're going to rotate at a rate of 3 degrees per second towards an initial pitch of 12.5 degrees, which is the line above the 10 degree line. And note that if a tail strike occurs, the ECAM is going to indicate tail strike straight away. Now, tail strike attitude, depending on whether the main gear is compressed or not, in the A380 is between 11.5 to 13.5 degrees pitch. And no more or less than that. So a normal 3 degree rotation rate is going to be perfectly fine, and the aircraft is going to lift off. 12.5 degrees pitch, and then we can follow the SRS flight director orders. Do note that the initial versions of the fly-by-wire A380 are overpowered. The engines are producing more thrust than they should, and this can lead to the aircraft needing substantial extra pitch, such as about 17 degrees. That's too much. 12.5 should be the correct value, and that will be updated in the future. Alright, the rest of the technique we will talk through as it happens. So let's go ahead and initiate our takeoff. We do have a crosswind, a light crosswind today, so there is no need to apply any or to stabilize the engines at 50. So we're cleared for takeoff, landing lights on, nose light on, elapsed timer going on, and then we can initiate our takeoff run. So let's press the chronos, bring the engines up to 25%, half forward side stick, stabilized, man flag 66, SRS, runway, auto thrust blue, thrust set. So, between AT and V1, we return the side stick to neutral, 100 knots is checked. V1, rotate, positive climb, gear up, nav, checked, and now we can use the SRS flight director guidance to control our pitch. The autopilot can be engaged as soon as we are at least 100 feet above the ground and in the air for 5 seconds. So let's turn on the autopilot 1 so that we can sit back a little bit and monitor what our aircraft is doing. Reaching the acceleration altitude, we get lever climb flashing, so let's return our thrust levers into the climb notch and observe thrust climb, climb, auto thrust. Passing through the S speed, we are going to retract our flaps, but make sure that you abide any speed restriction. For example, we have a 230 knot restriction over here, so make sure that the green dot speed is no higher than that. Alright, so flap 0, speed checked, flap 0. Alright, with the flaps selected to 0, we turn the ground spoilers into the retract position, turn off the camera light and the nose light, and turn on the packs one by one with at least 10 seconds in between. Well, and that is everything you need to do. Congratulations, you have taken off with your Airbus A380. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you have learned something. Be sure to leave your feedback in the comments below. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you're up for more, I would love to see you as a channel member or a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much and see you all again on the next one.